Welcome to KSOK Uncensored. Today's guest is AJ Rice. AJ is the CEO of Publius PR. It's a PR firm out of the Washington, D.C. area and represents many heavy hitters in the conservative space. AJ has recently written a book, The Woking Dead. I love that title. How society's Vogue virus destroys our country. Virus meaning wokeism. Am I correct, AJ?
Absolutely. It's a cultural virus for sure.
It absolutely is. I have to tell you, I have read some commentary on your book from folks that have already read it, and you are really blowing it out of the water. I had a chance to look over your book myself and was pulling away just so many great takeaways. But I have to say, the main thing that I really, really like about your book, what really resonated with me, is that you have humor stitched throughout your book. And the reason that's so important, not only is it entertaining, and we all love being entertained, but it's easy to digest for the reader. Americans are drinking from a fire hose of negative information right now. And what is human nature when we get overwhelmed? We shut down. And so we put our blinders on, bury our heads in the sand, and that doesn't do anything for ourselves or our nation. So the fact that your book has so much humor throughout, I was smiling. I actually was laughing out loud at some of the chapter names that you chose. And I love this. I feel that every American should buy this book so they can be entertained and informed at the same time.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I'm a millennial. I'm a geriatric millennial. So I set this thing up kind of like short attention span theater, right? It's kind of like a music album where you've got 10 sections, and each sort of number is a track listing, right? So some of them are humorous, some of them are horrific, some of them are both. But I wanted to be able to cover a lot of ground. And look, you have to have fun here, right? You have to, sometimes being able to hang a joke on someone is more devastating than being able to, blow them out of the water with some kind of, Aristotelian argument. I don't think conservatives poke enough fun, quite frankly, at the people that are trying to tear down this culture. I mean, you have to use absurdity to illustrate absurdity. I learned that from years of listening to Rush Limbaugh. Andrew Breitbart was a client of mine. And if anyone's followed my career, I used to be the executive producer of the Laura Ingraham Show. And we used to do that on the air every day. Mock the left. Don't be mean, but have fun doing it.
Right, right. No, absolutely. That is my style as well. I think it's incredibly important because I've received feedback from people. They like the humor mixed within. They want to smile. They want to laugh. We all need to. It's healthy for us. But at the same time, we need to know what's going on. And so, again, I feel that every American needs to buy your book. And I just want to share a few of the chapter titles with folks watching, because this is just, I mean, it's comedic genius, really. I love this here. America gets a senior citizen sugar daddy. I love it. I love it because it's like we know where it's going, but it's humorous at the same time. Let me go into one. Oh, I love this one here. Well, Hussein and the Membrane. Love that play there. But this is so, I live in Portland, Oregon, and this is so true. Wimpy white men went Biden, AKA the beta male. I have to share, a former colleague of mine posted this on his social media the other day. And this is just a prime example of this wimpy white man that went for Biden. It's to all women, I stand with you. To all people of color, I stand with you. To all LGBTQIA plus people, I stand with you. To all people burdened by years of systemic racism and hatred, I stand with you. I did not choose to be born a white American male, but I do choose each day to stand with those negatively impacted in a way I will never fully understand. Beta male, right there.
Well, I mean, and that's the Woking Dead. I mean, these people are captured. I mean, they are not free people. They are living inside their own psychodrama because they're obsessed with identity instead of excellence. Look, Larry Bird was fantastic, not because he was white, because he was fantastic. Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, John McEnroe, whoever it is, Wayne Gretzky. These are the best. And, you know, when you look at Washington, what you've got right now is not excellence. Look, this isn't even, these are like third string Obama people at this point. They're not the best and the brightest. Half of them are grifters. The other half are trying to burnish their resume. You know, when Trump left, they all ran back to their old desks. So they've never signed the front of a paycheck. A lot of them have been living off of us. I mean, Biden's been living off of us for 50 years. And when he wasn't living off of us, he was living off of shady deals his son and brother were cutting. So most of the people that are out there, especially the white males, you know, in and around urban areas, we call them, there's all kinds of names for them. You know, these are your typical linguini spine, you know, virtue signaling soy boys. It's amazing for all the talk about Trump and race and this and that. He actually, that was the only group the data shows that he lost a little bit of percentage with. He increased with black men and women, Hispanic men and women, and white women. But the data shows that in some of these areas, I guess, they were really twisted up by some of the mean tweets. I hope they're proud of themselves, because if you look at what's going on now in the country, you own it. I mean, the audience of this show doesn't own it. You don't own it, I don't own it, but they own it.
That individual went on to post, talk about virtue signaling, because that's in the same boat here of what we're talking about, is this feel that they need to virtue signal. Let's see here. He posts a picture of his wife and oldest daughter. This is what being a selfish, self-centered asshole looks like. Not getting vaxxed and not wearing a mask. I mean, it's just crazy. And so it's this beta made to continue to say, look at me, I'm so amazing. And it is wild. I go doorbelling. I'm working for a local politician. I feel that people need to be involved in local politics, and the fix is local. And you know, just last night I was doorbelling until 8 p.m. in a rural neighborhood, and it's amazing. These are people that openly admitted they had just moved from Portland, Oregon, into this rural neighborhood in Washington, and they're admitting to me, we moved out of Portland, we couldn't do Portland anymore. Great. Would you say that you're more left of center, right of center, yada yada in the middle? Oh, definitely left. And so you know, towards the end, I was all loosened up, and I was like, look, if you don't want this area to look like Portland, you need to vote differently. Bottom line. And they were white men, generally younger, I would say, and a few white women in their 60s. So it's really interesting, you know, these folks that are so focused on being social justice warriors. I don't even get it. Where did we go wrong as a nation?
Well, look, I mean, the big problem, and people are worried about this in Florida, quite frankly, because half of New York has colonized parts of Palm Beach County at this point. I was in Northern Virginia, and I call them the pumpkin spice mafia, right? So these are people. They're the whitest people in America. They're driving Audis. They've got their Peloton. They've got their pumpkin spice latte, and boom, hanging off the front of their house is a Black Lives Matter flag. Please, Black Lives Matter, don't come to my house. And they're living in $1 million homes in Northern Virginia. I mean, I'm talking about the neighborhoods you saw in the news where Sean Spicer was living, and his neighbors were at the edge of his driveway picketing him. Where Chad Wolf was living, he was a DHS secretary, the neighbors are handing out refreshments to go harass him. I mean, these are the whitest people in America. They're virtue signaling. They're riding around on their bikes around the Beltway with no helmet on, but wearing a mask when it's 90 degrees outside. I mean, it's a psychosis. I mean, I make fun of them, but I mean, this is the virtue signal I'm talking about. The yard signs, love is love, you know, hug a Muslim, you know, whatever it is. There's one crazy sign after another.
Yes.
But these are the people, though, that it's interesting, at least in Virginia, and I'm talking to you live from there, like right across the river from Swamp Central, and I can tell you that some of them, maybe not the most vocal ones, They went into the polling booth almost a year after voting for Biden and pulled that lever for Glenn Youngkin. And a lot of it is because of the schools, right? The craziness in the schools. So they might have a coexist bumper sticker, but they don't want Steve and Gary in their daughter's locker room.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so true. And, you know, I'm hoping that we see a lot more of that in November. I'll tell you what, I left doorbelling last night. I'm glad I did what I did, but I left feeling like, oh, these people are clueless. But we just need people to knock on doors and wake them up one at a time, even though, you know, it is very frustrating to witness firsthand what is happening. I want to just go back to just wokeism. You know, I wanted to share something with you that happened here in the state of Oregon. And that is the fact that in early 2022, Oregon lawmakers, so they passed a bill that would put tampons in boys' restrooms. And the budget set aside for that is 16 times more than for talented and gifted programs. So we're talking just under 6 million put aside so that Oregon boys' restrooms are equipped with tampons. And then we're looking at $350,000 for talented and gifted programs. That is wokeism. That's the poster board for wokeism. And I'll tell you what's going to happen. The janitor is going to be unclogging toilets because it's a big joke to these kids. I mean, they're going to throw them on the ceiling. They're going to have to scrape them off. That's what they spent $6 million on.
I mean, that's unbelievable. I can't believe I missed that for the book. But I'm not shocked. Oregon, and Washington are a bit kooky. So what you're saying is that the money, this was a public school, right? The money,
Yes.
more taxpayer money went towards providing tampons for boys in the boys locker room or bathroom versus some sort of like an AP classes or advanced learning. That's unbelievable, and that's exactly what we're talking about. And I cannot believe. I guess there are some places in the country that are shot. But I think we're dealing with the tyranny of the minority here, because you've only got 1.4% of people claim to be part of the, LGBTQ mafia, which is no one. When you have a country of 340 million people, that's no one. Right. And you got to remember, moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, and most Republicans, they're against this stuff. I believe this is an 80% issue. And I would send a memo to Liz Cheney and little crying Adam that there is an insurrection happening nationwide. I would like to see it happen in Oregon and the Pacific Northwest. And it's an insurrection, a rebellion of parents. They flipped Virginia. They're flipping places like Miami-Dade County from blue to red. And I think it's going to go on across the country here in November. This is what's got them scared. It's the Youngkin prototype. It cuts across a lot of things. Trump's not on the ticket, although Trump is batting like 800 with picking winners. And they're scared. They're scared. And that's why they're making crazy speeches like the thing in Philadelphia, is because I don't think run-of-the-mill parents that are getting soaked by inflation, that have been dealing with a medical tyranny from COVID. They're dealing with a financial tyranny from the reanimated corpse in the White House who thinks it's a big game, right? I mean, yesterday or this week when he's doing this inflation signing bill, on one side of the screen, on the other side of the screen, the markets are tanking. It reminded me of that CNN reporter in front of the burning building saying that they were all peaceful protesters.
Mostly peaceful. Right? I mean, yes.
Mostly peaceful. Right. So they're out of touch. I think the handlers at the White House, like I said, they're not the best and the brightest. I think they're getting all their talking points from the 24-year-olds that do the booking at MSNBC. And the American people have had it. They've got a financial tyranny, a medical tyranny, and this woke garbage is a cultural tyranny. If the Republicans, if they don't continue to act like the gang you can't shoot straight, if they get their act together and focus on those three things and don't chase the shiny baubles, don't take the Roe v. Wade bait, don't take the student loan bait, you can make the case that they're bailing out wokeism with the student loans, because they are. They're not bailing out veterinary technicians. They're bailing out people that have bachelor's degrees in, underwater lesbian basket weaving. So make that case, right? Make the case, stay on target, and don't have a linguini spine. There's one thing Trump should have taught you is Trumpism, Be tough, hang in there. The American people don't want any more Mitt Romneys. So keep fighting.
You are spot on with that. And that is something Seth Keshel was just out in my neck of the woods, and I went to his event, and he was talking a lot about, this is your home, stand your ground, especially people in the Northwest. They're flying off to Idaho, moving to South Dakota left and right. And he's like, you know what? It's going to catch up with everyone everywhere eventually. Stand your ground, fight for your town, fight for your land. And I just love that message, because we need to wake up and fight local. Otherwise, it's a disease. It is spreading. And but I do feel that people are waking up. I've been working the circuit with Joe Kent in, that is a Trump pick in Southwest Washington, and his district goes quite a ways up the Pacific. But I've been working with him a bit, and it's amazing what his win over Rhino Jamie Herrera Butler really shows everybody, is that America is, especially that part of the nation, which, everyone paints us with this, we're all Democrats, right? In Oregon and Washington. We went for the most conservative person on the ticket. And it just shows how sick of the wokeism people truly are in so many parts of the country. I want to ask you if you believe the sentiment, go woke, go broke, is true.
I mean, it is, to some degree. So there's a phenomenon here that I touch on in the book and I've been talking about. I mean, so take the late night hosts, right? They're monochromatic. They're a bunch of sort of Gen X white guys all lined up except for Trevor Noah, right? And they all are lazy. They all sing from the same song sheet. They take their old Sarah Palin jokes and they make them about Trump. They don't seem to care if they lose audience. So when you look at, and some of them, like Kimmel's on ABC, ABC's owned by Disney. So if you take a look at places like Disney, some of these corporations, unfortunately, are willing to lose you as their customer, at least on some level. They are. Their strategy is this. They don't want the audience of this show. They don't want Rice. They don't want any of your loyal listeners. They're okay with that, because I believe, whether it's the NBA, whether it's Nike or Coca-Cola or Disney, it seems that they're willing to replace us with members of the Chinese Communist Party. There's 1.3 billion Chinese. That's the market they're looking at. That's the market they kowtow to. So they'll pull an LGBTQ character that they inserted for the American left out of a movie that they release in China or Saudi Arabia, right? It's interesting how they make these decisions. So they don't want to kowtow to us, but they'll kowtow to them.
Exactly.
But you have to be able to vote with your wallet. Now, the parks, I mean, DeSantis is hurting the park. And I'm talking about Disney World in Florida. So they're finally taking it on the chin and hitting their bottom line. But what I find fascinating is this. I'm not sure the CEOs or the boards are all sort of totally left-wing. There's this weird, crazy, radical middle management that they're all scared to death of. These are the nuts that are in the parking lot of Netflix protesting Dave Chappelle. These are the people that are siding with Neil Young when he tried to blackmail Spotify into dropping Joe Rogan, right? So there's this tyrannical, bizarre middle management that they're all scared to death of, and it's interesting. They're loud, they're vocal, and sometimes if they can't get to you, digitally, because look, cancel culture is wokeism, right? And there's not enough sort of free speech absolutist Democrats out there pushing back. I mean, Bill Maher is one, to his credit. Yes. Dave Chappelle is one. There are some other guys, but Naomi Wolf, Bobby Kennedy Jr., who we work with both of them, Bari Weiss, they're out there, but not as many as there used to be. And that's a problem. See, when Bill Maher makes fun of Catholics, he knows that the Jesuits aren't going to jump out of the bushes and stab him to death. But his friend, Salman Rushdie, 30 years in the making, make no mistake, the attack on Salman Rushdie is cancel culture. So they stabbed him. Somebody jumped on a stage and tried to stab Dave Chappelle. Somebody jumped on the stage and tried to stab Lee Zeldin, who's running for governor of New York, right? So there is a side to this, cancel culture, the woke and dead, that if they can't get you online, deplatforming, demonetizing, shadow banning, they may show up physically. I mean, they are giving out the home address of Brett Kavanaugh. Someone came to kill him. So this is who we're dealing with. These aren't just online trolls. Some of these people, they mean what they say, and they may show up physically. I know your audience will be ready for them. Most conservatives will be. But we can never, forget. You can never forget that they could show up. I mean, they shot up a baseball game, right? Bernie Sanders guy. About a mile. I was sitting a mile from there when they did it. So, be on guard, ladies and gentlemen.
It's true. And doxing is real. I'm married to a Portland police officer. So if you can only imagine, their addresses have been leaked out. That's why for the first couple of years that I've been doing this, speaking out against what is happening, I had an alias and I just put my first name out there because doxing, especially in the Portland area where we're like the Antifa HQ, it's real. And there is a threat, but I think what Trump did, and I know you touch on this, the importance of Trump and why America needed him. I mean, if someone is feeling like I am, like low level, where wow, I'm putting my name out there, I am quote unquote a target. Let's just take a glance at what Trump went through for us. He didn't need to do what he did. Can you unpack when you write about the importance of Trump and why America needed him? Really, where were you going with that, and unpack exactly what you mean?
Well, I call him the vaccine America needed, right? So I think he won for three reasons, really, three big reasons. I mean, he won for a lot of reasons, but pushing back against political correctness, the trade stuff, and immigration. Now, wokeism is really the latest iteration of political correctness. I mean, the left has always there's always been the nanny state, right? So they're gonna take the cigar out of your mouth, and they're gonna take the salt shaker out of your hands. And then you had the PC, army out there. And the last time we saw them was really the Murphy Brown pantsuit army of the late 1990s, right? So, but every 15 years or so, they spin up. So this is the latest iteration. And it predates COVID in the sense that BLM was before COVID, Occupy Wall Street was before COVID, but I guess they turned into Antifa. And of course, the Me Too movement. But Trump broke the dam, because he rejected the premise of a lot of the language police, right? The people that want us to talk a certain way, and politicians. And look, some Republicans bought into this. They became never Trumpers, right? But the funny thing is, Trump has become a counterculture icon because of this. I mean, look, counterculture icons used to be radical leftists. I don't care whether it was George Carlin or the Ramones, Joey Ramone, or the Sex Pistols, or Lenny Bruce as a comedian. It didn't matter. They usually came from the left. They were challenging the zeitgeist of the time, right?
Right.
But Trump, to his credit, comes down the escalator. I've never seen a politician hunted like this, ever, never, except maybe the ones that were shot. And he has just been it's been like spitballs on a battleship. So like Crossfire Hurricane, first impeachment, second impeachment, phony Russia hoax, all of it. It's like I'm watching the Stations of the Cross, and they're trying to crucify him to the point where there's nothing left to do or say. I mean, Bernard Kerik has mentioned some things, the only thing left, really. So they raid his house, and I think I don't think even that's going to work. And I think they know that. Because at the end of the day, it's us. They're after us. They're after us. We went from alt-right to deplorables to ultra-MAGA to semi-fascist in 5 years, and you and I are going to be Mussolini by November. I mean, they're not going to stop here. That kooky speech in Philadelphia where he went to my city, standing in front of the American People's Building, in the place where the Marine Corps was invented, in the place where America was invented, uses the Marines as props. It was outrageous.
Yes.
I mean, these are the types of, the next 60 days, I'm telling you, they're going to keep doing this stuff. And we just have to, you know, gird our loins and keep fighting.
Absolutely. Yeah, he looked like the H-man up there. Quite despicable. Yeah, we do. I love that you said gird our loins, because that is a saying I grew up on, and a lot of people don't use it. So I appreciate that very much. But absolutely. I mean, come on, we have 60 days. And what I've been trying to do a lot on my platforms is wake people up. Realize if you haven't gotten involved locally yet, we have 60 days until the general. You need to get your ass with a local politician and get out there and hit the streets and start knocking on doors. And, you know, there was a Indian woman, East Indian woman that was on Fox Nation. And I was watching, and I don't have her name at the top of my mind, but she was saying Americans have absolutely no right to sit back and do nothing, especially at this stage in the game. And it's true. We have to speak up. And I just want to, I appreciate, you know, you have such a long, you've achieved so much, you've accomplished so much. And I know that looks like you are, you write for over 24, you write over 24 columns, or at least 24 outlets. I mean, that is amazing. Thank you for being a truth teller. I was reading your dedication in your book to your parents, your wife, your son. Does being a father, a husband, a son, does that, and I'm assuming the answer is yes, but how does that play into what you are doing for our nation by offering a platform for truth telling?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got an 8-month-old, and it's a first baby. I mean, you know, I'm married to a warrior woman. I mean, she's tough. She's from North Carolina. She doesn't play around. I'm from Philly, so she married a Yankee. But, I mean, between the two of us, and we work together at Publius PR, you know, you got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is your country. It's your children's country. It's not Nancy Pelosi and you know, her husband and Schumer and these. It's, you know, you don't believe the garbage out there. I mean, you have to fight for this. I mean, it's, you know, Ronald Reagan used to say it. We're only one generation away from losing it. So you need to get out there. And I think we learned something from 2020 without doing a deep dive on election integrity, is that we now have 75 million poll watchers, okay? Whether we can't undo the past, but get out there, watch these people, get your phones ready, get a copy of The Walking Dead, wave it around in those other phony poll watchers' faces. But just remember, we are all in this together. It's not about identity. It's about excellence. Try to achieve something each day, each week, each month. Be excellent at something, even if it's just excellent for an hour, because that's way more important than any type of race, gender, or sexual identity, right? Keep fighting. Understand that, you know, this is your country, and you, it's, I mean, you can go and preserve it for the generations to come. Really, most of politics takes place between the 40-yard lines. So don't ever think that you're in the minority here. You're not.
Love it. I love that. I appreciate that so much. Yes, everyone needs to get a copy of The Walking Dead. I'm not kidding you when I say it's entertaining, it's digestible, and informative at the same time. Where can people find you on social?
Well, I'm on every platform pretty much. I mean, you can go to @PubliusPR on Twitter, thewalkingdeadbook.com, AJ Rice, Google me. You can find me in most platforms. And the book's available pretty much anywhere. Walmart.com, Target.com, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. So,
excellent.
you know, just keep getting it. Get out there. Keep fighting.
Thank you very much. I was just going to say thank you for fighting. We appreciate everything you do, which is an absolute ton. You have a wonderful evening, AJ. Thank you for coming on KSOK Uncensored.
You're a patriot. Go get them.
All right. Thank you. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Always an amazing guest on KSOK Uncensored. AJ has achieved so much, and I'm not kidding you. A lot of people write books, you guys. This is one for someone like me who I don't have a very long attention span. This book really resonated with me in a short period of time. This is worth picking up. The Walking Dead. Get your copy today and tune in next Thursday, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, KSOK Uncensored. Take care.